Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 16.4 Outlook for Group Geo. My name is Sampath Ranasinghe, and I'm the product manager for the group. So let's start with GitLab Silent Mode. GitLab Silent Mode suppresses outbound communication for a GitLab instance. So where is this going to be useful for yourselves? This will be useful for testing your disaster recovery mechanisms. So be that a Geo disaster recovery site or a restore from a backup. Essentially, for example, if you take a Geo disaster recovery site, you can promote a disaster recovery site and turn on silent mode, and then test your disaster recovery procedures and mechanisms against this site. This also allows you to test the integrity of the data of that site. In a similar vein, you can do the same with a restored backup. By turning on silent mode, it gives you the ability to test your recovery processes and also the integrity of the backup to give you confidence that you can successfully recover from a disaster event. This is a cross-stage effort where the Geo team is coordinating with a number of other stage groups to deliver this capability. The next up is verification of object storage. Geo already manages replication of object storage between object storage buckets. We call this GitLab managed object storage replication. However, we do not verify this data. So the effort here is to add verification to this data and thus completing the circle for object storage replication and verification. This also brings us to a significant milestone with Geo, where we will be, with the completion of this, we will be verifying 100% of all Geo replicated data. Verification of data, object storage data in this context will protect you against data loss in the event of failover event. And it will also speed up the process of reattaching a demoted primary site by not requiring you to replicate all the object storage data that may already be present on that secondary site that's being reattached. Next up is the first of a number of product improvements related to backup and restore, essentially. So the first of all, we'll be looking to unify the backups into a single CLI. Depending on your GitLab installation, there are different ways to run backups. So, for example, Omnibus or Linux package requires you to run a rake task or a scripted file. The Helm charts or cloud native deployments require you to use the backup utility. In an effort to consolidate and simplify the backup process, we will implement a single CLI that supports all installations and all use cases. Next up is improving the scalability of the backups themselves by leveraging the power of modern multi-core processes along with parallel compression algorithms. So this will speed up the compression element of the backups, thus reducing the time it takes to complete a backup. Next, we'll be tackling bringing runner acceleration via Geo sites to general availability. So we've made a good progress on plugging a number of gaps with this, essentially that allows us to bring this to your consumption. Essentially, what this provides is ability to reduce the demand on the primary site by offloading runner traffic to Geo secondary sites. It also allows you to locate GitLab data closer to your runners as well through Geo secondary sites. Next up is support for unified URLs with cloud native sites, cloud native GitLab sites. Unified URL is already fully supported on Linux package or Omnibus deployments or sites. However, cloud native sites do not support what we call an internal URL that Geo is dependent on for supporting unified URL. Unified URL allows all geosites to have a single URL that users will use to access their data. The concept will allow users to be automatically directed to the closest geosite based on their location. So as you can see, it's important for us to be able to support this for cloud native GitLab sites as well. So working together with the distribution group, we will be adding the ability to configure an internal URL for cloud native geosites that will enable these sites to also participate in the unified URL. Next up is support for resync and re-verify all actions for components. So what this essentially does is level up the self-service framework, allowing the bulk action buttons, bringing forward the bulk action buttons to resync and re-verify for all components that are managed by Geo. So components, by components, I mean things like projects, wikis, uploads, LFS objects, etc., etc. So this helps with potentially troubleshooting issues where you want to kick off a bulk re-verification action for all items under that component, or also if you find that your Geo application has stalled, this is a manual intervention that will force a re-replication process between the primary and the secondary site. Next is monthly unique secondary site users for Git operations. So we already collect a metric for monthly unique secondary users that access secondary sites via its web UI. However, this metric doesn't account for Git operations such as clone, push, pull, etc. Knowing this metric will provide us a quantitative insight into how much these secondary sites are being used by users, and allow us to make informed decisions on investments in this area going forward. And then finally, we will be changing the call flow for git fetch and clone operations by SSH that are made to the secondary site. The idea here is with the proxy from the secondary site to the primary site will now be shifted to go through the GitLab shell. We've already made the changes to push operations where we are when a git push is made to the secondary site. Now that is handled by the GitLab shell. We've seen improvements in performance, as well as it has given us the ability to remove certain timeout limitations on the calls. The current effort here is to consolidate and bring the opposite flow, so the pull and fetch and clone flow, also through the GitLab shell, thus consolidating both proxying call flows around the GitLab shell. And this effort is being done in collaboration with the source code group, who will be doing most of the heavy lifting in this case. So thank you, source code group. And with that, we conclude the 16.4 Outlook for Group Geo. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time.